Let's get into then, shall we? The economy. We know it's coming by now, don't we? We've had the failed Trussonomics, which were, of course, all about growth. Now, apparently, we might be heading headfirst into more austerity and also higher taxes. Of course, we all know by now as well we've got higher interest rates. What do we need to do in order to rebuild the British economy? David, I'm going to start with you. You are a leading entrepreneur in this country. If you were Rishi Sunak, Jeremy Hunt, what would you be putting in this autumn budget? What do you think the answer to this mess is?
Well, austerity really isn't the answer. It really isn't. And I'm an ex-banker, an entrepreneur, worked on both sides of the Atlantic, and the incompetence of this particular government is stunning. I've always believed that the Tories have a reputation for financial competence, but something's gone really, 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 really wrong. Now, when I first studied economics, we learned about the multiplier effect, and that is simply, an economy is not like your house. You don't just say, I won't spend so much and that'll be fine, because then you get involved in something called the paradox of thrift. And that is this, right?
Paradox of thrift,
paradox of thrift.
Every day is a learning day on Jubes and Co. Go on.
I'll tell you all about it. And it really matters, and if you take 100 people in a village and one person's a butcher, one person's a baker, one person is a cleaner, if there's £10 and it goes round and round and round, and instead of that £10 being spent on the cleaner, she can't buy a lamb chop. The butcher then can't go to the window cleaner, and everything stalls. So the first thing is to stimulate what's called the velocity of circulation of the money supply.
Good grief. I'm going to be testing you lot at home at the end, by the way. Make sure you're all keeping up. Go on.
Sorry, yes, well, all right. But the point is, money goes round. An economy is like a human body, and we might argue on either sides here of our political spectrum about what we want as a result of an economy working. But I tell you what, an economy is like a human body. If the blood isn't flowing, which is money, the patient dies, and that's what's happening. We're getting gangrene setting in. So what we need now, first of all, I fully support Rishi in getting rid of our reputation of being completely strange and amateur. We have to get the confidence of the international markets. The first thing we have to do is understand the scale of the problem we've got now, and I think that's the right thing to do. By doing that, by actually compiling a balance sheet for the country, by getting our beans in a row, people can go, aha, now we know what the problem is. And right now...
But we know what the problem is. We've got a load of debt, we've got a black hole. No.
The problem is, what is the size of the problem, and how do we best deal with it? And then we can go to the OBR. We get some forecasts, but forecasts result from policy. Policy should lead to forecasts, not the other way around. That's what happened in 2008, which I'm still angry about. The financial system was working. We had a bunch of nutters lending too much money, a bunch of crooks manipulating the financial system. Get rid of the crooks. We had a fairly wealthy world in 2007 with some problems. Now, what we've got is a depressed economy. If we raise taxes, if we cut public services, we have no plan for growth, we have no plans to encourage trade, to do trade deals, if we have no plans to encourage genuine investment, and I don't mean just public spending, then the Albanians are welcome to the country. I'm getting out. But I do have some ideas, but we should let you both.
I'm going to come back to your ideas in a second. Emma, go on, your thoughts.
I disagree with very little of that. I think it's absolutely right. We do need to make sure that money is flowing, and the money circulation happens because people are going and buying things. They're not feeling the need to pinch them. They're not feeling the need, and we get our local economies in particularly circulating when people can go out and buy things. I think David's absolutely right. Austerity is not the answer. What we need is well-managed, well understood, targeted investment. And myself, I would put it in two particular areas. I think we need to invest in skills so that we have a well-educated workforce that are fit for the kind of future, not that we need in 5 years, but that we need in 50 years, so that we understand, that we really do the work to understand who we're going to be as a country in 50 years' time and how we get there, who we can be as a really successful country. The other thing I think we should invest in is much more infrastructure. Personally, I would put that into things like renewable energy, again, it's looking at that 50-year view. There's a concept called cathedral thinking, which is where you think beyond your own political lifetime, beyond your own lifetime as a CEO, for example. Oh, I've
your poppy's
my poppy's on. I'm so sorry. I did have one. Honest,
Wheels
guys.
are coming off. Wheels are coming off. You get abused now.
I will. Why isn't she wearing a poppy?
We're gonna rummage under the desk during the break, and we'll
mine.
find it and we'll reattach it.
But that for me, I think what we need to do is put money where it will make money for the country.
But the thing about you are using the word investment in a different way to, I think, how economists and business people would say. I don't disagree we should have education that's fit for the 21st century. We're currently educating people for the 19th. I don't disagree we should have infrastructure. But we need to encourage investment by companies, by individuals, that generates profits, that generates economic activity.
How do we do that?
I agree with that. I don't think it should just be state managed at all. I think there are good partnerships and ways that the state can create the space to bring in private investment.
Well, you and I are going to have very different views of what a successful country looks like and a successful economy. We'll come to that later. But what I think is this. One, let's work out exactly how bad this so-called black hole is. And secondly, let's get the confidence of financial markets. Rishi Sunak, I believe, is going to do that. He understands because of his Goldman Sachs background. Great. But other than that, we've all got poorer since Sunak's been around. Other than him, he should be called richer Sunak, quite honestly. Now, what are we going to do about this? Firstly, we need a solution to the COVID debt. I believe lockdown has made us all poorer. OK? So what we should be doing is creating like a war bond.
Yes.
Like a bad bank. We can all invest in it. We can make money out of this, and everyone can get 2.5%, 3% interest. That problem's gone away.
Right, well, let me ask you specifically about this, because you are an economist, so I'm hoping far smarter on economic things than me. When Rishi Sunak did his first speech, and we'll all remember this, when he was on the steps of Number 10, he said the following, and I'll quote him directly. He says, "The government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves." And it kind of got me thinking, why wouldn't you? Why are we obsessing with paying down this COVID debt now? Because when you think about the First World War debt, Second World War debt, whatever, indeed future generations, us, we were paying off that debt only recently, actually. One of those debts has just finally been closed. So what is the answer to that? Because to me, it seems like basic common sense to package this up, kick it out into the long grass, and unfortunately, the future is paying it off. That's the way it goes. Why isn't he doing that then?
Because we have government by TikTok. It's all about platitudes. It's all about soundbites. He knows what he's doing. The thing about it is, will he do it? It's not, if you buy a house, if let's say you buy a house for 1.1 million and you put down 100 grand, it's not, I mean, the house may go up and may go down, you're living in it. But the point about this is, can you afford the mortgage payments? If your interest rates are 1%, you can. If they're 7%, you can't. And this government has said, well, we've got all this debt. I know. Everything's overheating because of the gas prices, which, by the way, is a short-term thing. Don't overreact. Don't put long-term solutions for short-term problems. They're raising interest rates, thus meaning they can't afford to pay their own debt. They're slowing down the economy. All we now need is some tax rises, some higher interest rates. The whole thing goes bust. That's mad. This country can restart if we just apply some calm, intelligent solutions. We need to take the past, we need to make it affordable, we need to take the future, discuss it and plan it and get on and create a start-up Britain. It is possible. And we can't be doing this levelling up anymore. We've got to go to work.
Oh, hey, hang on a minute. How are we doing levelling up? I want to bring Emma in, but I can't let you... In fact, actually, I'll come back to you on that sentence. I can't let you say, hey, your poppy's fallen off as well. It's only me. Well, actually, mine's pinned firmly onto my bosom. It's going nowhere. I'm going to come back to you on levelling up in a second. But on this skills thing, in Singapore, I think it's wonderful, actually. They have this thing, it's called skills credit or something like that, whatever, you can Google it. And what they do is every adult over the age of 25 gets, like every year, they get a sum of money where they can kind of keep themselves on top of qualifications, courses, whatever. And I've always thought what a sensible thing to do, and I've always been perplexed as to why we don't do anything like that.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I did my master's degree in my 40s. I did my first degree, you know, like everybody else does, as a late teen, early 20s. And I remember saying to my the course leader, I said, I'm the kind of mature student I hated at 19. He said, what do you mean? I said, I do all the reading. The lifelong learning is a gift in itself to you as a person. You know, the things that you get when you go back to studying as a older person, as I am now, is incredible. But also, you know, the world that I grew up in, that when I did my first degree, I had one computer I could go and use, one terminal in the university. Whereas now, of course, I carry one around in my pocket all day, every day. We're in a very different world. And in 20 years' time, we'll be in another very different world. I'll still be working in 20 years' time. I'll need to have very different skills. So, of course, I'm going to want to keep learning. And that's true of all of us.
People will be watching this at home, though, going and saying, yes, Emma, you will want to keep yourself up to date and skill, but why should your man Joe from Wigan there have to fund you?
Well, because the man Joe from Wigan there will benefit from me learning and me then contributing back to the economy and me giving further back to the areas that I work in. And I want Joe from Wigan to have the opportunity to do the same thing. That's the point. It's not just for people like me.
What did you study?
My first degree was completely pointless, if I'm honest, sociology and English literature.
Right.
And then I went back and did my master's, a very practical course in journalism.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's very impressive. But at the same time, Tony Blair's idea that 50% of the population should go to university, no one learns how to go to work, that's and then everyone has to ended up borrowing. That's just created a very confused, very unproductive population. We'll talk about that later when we talk about Gen Z.
I mean, I think there is a lifelong learning aspect that could be much better created, taking away the snobbery of, it's all got to be book learning and the kind of high sort of ivory-towered universities. I have so much time for further education and really kind of apprenticeships, getting in, grafting, skills training, that kind of stuff. The stuff that when I go and do, much more practical work, I spent the day actually cooking as a volunteer in a kitchen. Fantastic. Felt so much more satisfying than actually sometimes just sitting looking at a blank page as a writer.
Well, I mean, you've got to say, by the way, many people at home these days, they can't even cook. Honestly, I'm not even joking. All these people that say that they can't afford to eat and all the rest of it, I am fascinated as to how many people know what to do, how to cook from scratch these days. You don't learn that anymore at school, do you? Anyway, I'm not letting you off the hook, young man.
Yes.
You just said then something along the lines of, forget about levelling up. Well, as a northerner, not happy with that. What do you mean?
Levelling up is what you do when you've buried a dead body. That's what you do. And
What?
I really think, yes, you level up the soil. And it's just a platitude. It's nonsense. What you have to do is define what kind of society and economy you want.
An equal one, my viewers will shout. An equal one.
No, they don't want an equal one. Nobody's equal. You can have equality of opportunity, but what you have to first of all do is realise we're all different. We're all talented in different ways. We've all got deficits in different ways. That we need to increase the mobility. So if you're really good at law, you can go to work where you can both study law and you can go and work where the legal businesses are. The same with financial centres. If you want to make movies, you go to Hollywood, right?
Why should all of the... But you're saying, you can train as a lawyer and then you go to where the opportunities are. The argument would be, and I'm a northerner, why should northerners, whatever, it's not just about the north and south, but why should people, say from Yorkshire or wherever, have to leave their homes and go to London, for example, for career opportunities? Why is it a bubble if the decent opportunities exist here?
Well, there should be great industry all over the place, but you're an inspiration to us all. And you've come. You are.
Can you clip that up, everyone? Whoever's in the background gallery there, clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
Put that as my ringtone.
No, you are. You're inspiring. You've come from a really tough background, and you are now working in London because that happens to be where this industry is. Now, but
I'm not happy about that. I shouldn't have to leave my home to come to London for an opportunity. There should be opportunities in my home.
Well, you could start a media business in Hull, couldn't you? But you're here, and that's fine. And if you want to take it back to Hull, the point being here is that we have to have a functioning economy, and then we have to teach people how to function in the 21st century, in business and in health, and we have to get the educational system functioning to do that. And there are some very obvious things to do for the economy right now. First of all, in rising interest rates, we have to, and I'd like to see something about this in the budget, we have to have protection for the normal person that has now seen their mortgage
Like
payments
what?
drop.
What do you mean?
Well, we should probably have some government-backed mortgage securities like the Fannie Mae's, and they have that kind of thing in the States, where the government should underwrite probably around 50% of
Emma's
of the
pulling
mortgages.
faces.
Wasn't Fannie Mae part of what crashed the economy in 2008, the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac bailouts?
Yeah, but now it's government-controlled and it's functioning very well. We have to be able to insure reasonably and professionally people's debts if we're going to increase interest rates, otherwise we crash the economy. So I would say, number one is we need to deal with, if we're going to raise interest rates, which I think is wrong, I think we're reacting to...
But that's globally. Central banks globally are raising their base rates. It's not just here, is it?
Well, I think they should rise a bit, but not that much.
Anyway, carry on with your plan then, because I'm going to need to go to a break in a minute. Go on.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go on, but no, you...
No, but the thing is, we're here. We have to,
so go on.
as a country, we have to actually have intelligent conversations about the economy. And one, if we drive millions of people into negative equity, that ain't going anywhere. If we don't allow a young person to get a mortgage, that ain't going anywhere. If we don't take the COVID debt away, we're just going to go backwards. If we raise taxes for companies, they aren't going to open here. If we raise income taxes for everybody, it just stops people working. We have to start thinking about generating activity to get wealthier, healthier, and we can get on with our lives and build a better society.
There you go, Rishi Sunak. If you're listening, you could be a consultant. Free economic advice there for Hunt and Rishi.